Welcome back, everybody. I'm Lady.
And I'm Alana.
And this is Spookery Part 3.
Let's go! Guys, we are very excited about this third part. We are really excited. I need to know how this ends. I know it ends badly and not good, but I need to...
Well, it depends on your perspective.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose. That is a true statement.
Yeah, but we're here. We're in Part 3. If you haven't listened to the other two parts, don't listen to this episode. Go listen to Part 1 and 2. This isn't going to make a lot of sense.
Accurate.
Yeah. I'm also going to give everyone a warning ahead of time. This is the Slap Happy episode.
Yes.
We've been recording them in order, like right after each other, so that both of us can remember the information and we have our rhythm. But it's late now, and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the night.
It is. It is dark outside. You feel the darkness in our bones, and you guys are going to feel it through your ears right now.
Yep, because I'm Slap Happy, and I'm about to tell you a lot of very dark information, and it's just not going to work well, but here we are.
But here we are, folks.
Yeah, so...
Teach me a thing, lady.
I will teach you many a thing, but I'm also going to first start off this episode with trigger warning.
Yes.
I will describe some injury, I will describe some violence, and for those of you who are queasy, here's a trigger warning for Desecration of Corpses.
Oh.
Yeah, just in case you were wondering where we are and what's happening.
That does spoil a little bit of a spoiler alert, but yeah.
Well, you don't know whose corpses.
You're 100% true. We'll learn about the corpses.
Yeah, you don't know the context of the corpses, and, but yeah, I'll flag it when it happens. It'll be very quick. All of the trigger warnings in this series are very quick, but I will put them in the description so you guys can skip ahead if you don't want to listen to it, if that's something that upsets you. But just so you know, it does happen in this story, so just prepare yourself, and if you're not ready for it, I am okay. You don't have to listen to the series. We will see you in the next episode for our beautiful cryptids and folklore series that Alana is putting together as we speak.
Absolutely. Yeah. We will never take it personally. Everyone has their things. If there's parts you don't want to listen to, you just skip right on past it.
Yep. And that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll be here when you're ready.
Yes. All right. Without further ado, lady, take it away.
Yes. So, part 1, we went through the early years of Bonnie and Clyde. We talked about how they met, what they were doing, their Buddy Hill phases where things just went wrong and we don't know why. It was considered kind of like their golden years because things went wrong, but it was kind of comically went wrong, and not a lot of people got hurt, but a lot of people got hurt. Then Clyde's brother was released from prison, and he joined the gang, and then things started to take a turn from the worst. Buck and Blanche were thrust into the world of extreme crime. They were used to misdemeanors at best, and now there's murder, and there's shootouts, and there's Browning automatic rifles, and it was all just a mess. And unfortunately, Buck got very seriously injured and died of his wounds in a hospital. Blanche is now blind and has left the gang. It is now down to Bonnie, Clyde, and WD2, also known as Henry Methvin. And now they have an ex-Texas Ranger manhunting them, essentially being their own personal bounty hunter and going to ensure that they are going to be apprehended. And that's where we left off. If you want to hear more, go listen to part 1 and 2. But without any ado, we're going to get straight into it. We're going to pick up right where we left off. The gang is down to 3 members, Bonnie, Clyde, and a kid named Henry Methvin, who is kind of like WD2. He's young. He's much younger than Bonnie and Clyde. He's essentially the gang intern. But unlike WD, Henry's got a bit of an attitude to him. He's a bit sassy.
Okay.
And he, unlike WD, who's kind of like, I'm in this situation and I don't know if I want to be here, Henry's like, sign me the fuck up.
Oh, okay. He's ride or die.
He's ride or die. He's also, remember, they got him from prison. He was already in Eastham prison, so he's kind of used to this brutality. He's used to this kind of life. He's been sharing jail cells and meeting with, famous outlaws. He's been hanging out with people, and now suddenly he's with the infamous Bonnie and Clyde. And he's like, this is my ticket to the big time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a big time crook hanging out with these guys. These guys know what's up. And they did do a successful bank robbery, but when Ray and Joe Palmer were still here. And he's like, this is on the up and up. Things can only get better.
Oh, how he
and
was
now
wrong.
It's suddenly just, so now it's suddenly just the 3 of them. But he's not deterred. None of them are. They're just like, that's fine. We've run with 3 before, and everything has turned out fine. For the most part.
For the most part.
For the most part. But then we're going to get into something where it did not turn out fine. So, April 1st, 1934, Easter Sunday.
Oh.
The gang was on Dove Road near Grapevine, Texas. So this was apparently a favorite hangout spot of Ray Hamilton. And some of my sources suggested that Clyde actually came here looking for Ray. And I'm going to say it was either to reconcile with Ray, be like, sorry, like, we do need you for your bank robbing abilities, or it was to kill him. It was one of the two.
It was, 50-50.
Yeah. They were either going to be best buds by the end of it, or one of them was ending up dead.
All right.
But I guess, fortunately, Ray was not here. He was off with Joe Palmer and Mary O'Dare, probably doing many successful bank robberies without Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
Well, 2 motorcycle cops are driving by and they see this parked car on the side of the road. And the officers are Highway Patrolman H.D. Murphy and Edward Brian Wheeler. And they're like, shit, like, this could be bad. Like, this might be people who need help.
Yeah.
Like, there's a car pulled to the side of the road at night. Like, maybe they need help. So they pull over and they decide to approach. Now, at the time, Bonnie and Clyde were sleeping. So it was our boy Henry Methvin who was on watch. And he was like, oh, shit.
The cops.
It's the cops. They're after me. They know I escaped from East Ham Prison. They're coming for me. So he went to and quickly alerted Clyde, who was like, ah, shit, not the cops again. Like, god damn it. So Clyde's plan was like, okay, everyone will load into the car and we'll just take them on a car chase. We've got our Ford V8 that can go 75 miles an hour. They're on motorcycles that can maybe hit 30 tops. We'll outrun them in a heartbeat. But I guess something got lost in translation here. Either Clyde wasn't quick enough to explain his plan, or Henry Methvin didn't care. And Henry Methvin pulled out a gun and shot, killing Officer Wheeler. Just straight up.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, this kid's in it. He's in this world. He wants this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Clyde was forced to defend himself. Basically, Murphy's like, "Oh shit, they're killing us," and Clyde was like, "Oh god, here we go." So Clyde joined into the gunfight, and both officers ended up dead.
Oh.
So Edward Wheeler was 26 years old. He'd been serving for 4 years, and he was survived by his 4 siblings. H.D. Murphy was 22 years old and had only been serving 6 months, and he left behind a fiancée.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. They were killed by a handgun and a shotgun.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
So the Grapevine incident did the Barrow Gang no favors. They were already in the shit for the East Ham prison break. Well, now they had just killed 2 cops in cold blood, as far as people were aware. There was also a supposed eyewitness to these events who skewed the events substantially.
What?
Yes, someone claimed that they saw the whole thing, and they reported it directly to the Dallas newspapers. And they were like, and the papers were like, oh, cool, someone witnessed a Barrow Gang gunfight, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So the first embellishment was that it was Bonnie who killed both officers.
Okay.
They were like, that small woman, she picked up 2 guns, she was dual-wielding, she went bam, bam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was like, she was a loose cannon.
What a claim.
And I'm like, I mean, I guess, like, Bonnie's been, she's held a gun before, she's been in, like, the throes of it.
Yeah.
But the eyewitness also claimed that she laughed when Murphy was killed, commenting that his head bounced like a rubber ball.
Okay.
This is an embellishment. Bonnie did not do this.
Yeah.
Just putting it out
my
there. Like,
jaw hit the floor when you said that. I'm like, I can't imagine. I mean, they were some brutal people, but I also don't see her as, like, a homicidal maniac in that way.
No. And I think that, you know, after the East Ham murder, and they were no longer these sexy celebrities, they were psychopaths.
Yeah.
Because only psychopaths break people out of East Ham prison. Only psychopaths could do this. Only psychopaths had the capacity to do this.
Yeah.
And that really was the angle for these newspapers. They were not those kinds of people. They were desperate and they were unlucky.
Yeah.
But the public wasn't in their favor anymore. They weren't like they weren't Team Bonnie and Clyde anymore.
It's crazy how some eyewitness testimony though can change the whole narrative.
Right? But then this eyewitness backpedaled. He was like, "Actually, don't, just kidding. I got my story mixed up. Let me try again." So then they claimed that it was still Bonnie, but she maybe didn't laugh at the head thing. That wasn't Bonnie. But they know it was Bonnie because they found a cigar butt with tiny teeth marks at the crime scene.
And it could only be her tiny teeth marks.
And I think that's very presumptuous. Maybe Clyde had small teeth.
Yeah, he was an unassuming man.
Yeah, he was 5'5". Maybe he had tiny teeth to match. I don't know. That's very presumptuous to think that just because she was a woman, she had tiny teeth. She might have had huge buck teeth for all we know.
Right, they also had this other man that was young. Maybe he still had baby teeth. We don't know.
Maybe he's chewing on cigars with baby teeth. And I'm like, that's very presumptuous to assume this. The tiny teeth marks it must be Bonnie.
He was tiny mouth Methvin. That's what they called him. So I mean, like, I can't believe that they just attributed this to Bonnie right away.
Yeah, small mouth Methvin. I can't believe it. Yeah. But of course, this also came from that famous photo that came out in the Joplin magazines where Bonnie had the cigar in her teeth. And so they're like, well, if it's a cigar, it had to be Bonnie because she was the chain smoker. She was smoking cigars every day, and that's unladylike.
This is some grade A detective work.
Yeah, they were like, it has to be. There was a picture of her taken once with a cigar that was not lit in her teeth. She must be a chain smoker. And they were like, yeah, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. So, several weeks after the affair, Murphy's fiancée wore her intended wedding dress to his funeral.
That's so sad.
She showed up at her fiancé's funeral in her wedding dress that she was planning to marry him in. And then that just kind of completely spiraled the Barrow Gang into widowmakers. They were like, they're killing, like, fiancés, they're killing husbands. Yeah. They're deliberately taking away from our Southern values.
Yeah.
They're destroying homes. And these were people with lives.
Man.
And I mean, and pretty much all of the embellishments that ever came out in these newspapers, with Bonnie having tiny teeth and chain smoking and laughing and shooting guns with both hands, they were all very quickly debunked. But the people didn't care.
Yeah.
Because as far as they were aware, it didn't matter if it was embellished. They were still monsters.
Yeah, the facts of the matter is, like you said, it doesn't matter if they laughed, didn't laugh. The facts are, people died. They were out there doing those things at their hands.
Yeah.
And that's truly unfortunate.
Yeah, that perfectly said. Like, the end result was somebody died, and people didn't care how they died. It was just that we know who did it.
Yeah.
And they deserve to be punished.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the very quick change from romantic Robin Hood couple to monsters, I'm sure, was a bit of a jarring experience for Bonnie and Clyde. There was also a massive public outcry to catch the gang. They've been running rampant for 2 years now, 2.5 years. They need to be stopped.
Yeah.
Like, this has gone on for too long. Too many people are dying. Like, other big-time gangs, they don't have this sort of fatality record. They're robbing banks and everyone's coming out fine. We're just losing money, and that's fine, but they're sticking it to the man. These people are killing small-town families.
Yeah.
So, suddenly there was a $1,000 reward for the dead bodies of the Grapevine Slayers.
Oh, wow.
There is no mention on this reward of them being brought back alive. That wasn't a precedent. It was for the dead bodies of the Grapevine Slayers.
They're like, we just want the bodies.
We just want to prove that the killing will stop.
Wow.
Yeah. So Ma Ferguson saw this and she was like, that's great. I've got this lovely wager I've got going on with this ex-Texas Ranger and the Department of Corrections Director Lee Simmons. Let's make it spicy. So she added an additional $500 to both Bonnie and Clyde.
She really was. She's like, I'll put my money where my mouth is. I know they're not going to. Here, let me just throw Annie up.
Yeah, she was having fun with it, but I'm sure, like, after the Grapevine killing, she was actually like, well, actually, like, yeah, maybe we should catch him. I don't want the Texas Ranger to win, but, like,
yeah.
Either way, I win.
Yeah.
If he doesn't catch him, I get to laugh at him, and if he does catch him, we lose, like, Bonnie and Clyde are off the street. So for her, it really was a win-win.
Yeah.
So with Ma Ferguson's bounty added to it, this was actually the first time that Bonnie had a specific bounty on her head.
Okay.
Because before it was always both of them. It was Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
They were a set. And in truth, like, you could kind of, like, you could catch Clyde and let Bonnie go, and you could still claim the reward because he was like, oh, she's the doe-eyed woman.
Yeah.
Whereas this time, Bonnie has a specific $500 specifically on her head, so you have to bring her in to get the $500.
Yeah, you need both of them.
Yeah. And she has that warrant for the murder for that Malcolm Davis earlier. On top of this bounty, and this is the Great Depression.
People need that money.
People need this money. I mean, and this is also the point where the Great Depression, they're starting to, like, they're putting pieces into play to get rid of the Great Depression, but it's not going to go for, like, we're not going to get out of this for another 6 years.
Yeah.
We're dealing with this. We're in the throes of it at this point.
I mean, $1,000 now is, like, if someone would be happy to get an extra bonus like that, like, I can't imagine back then that extra $1,000, yeah, sign me the fuck up, dude. Tell me who I need to bring in.
I mean, for $1,000 current day, I'm sure that's what, like $22,000 our time?
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's a lot of money. It's so much money. So, April 6th, 1934, Barrow Gang got their car stuck on a muddy road in Commerce, Oklahoma. So, passerby on high alert saw guns in the car, and he was like, "Oh shit, $2,000, baby!"
Oh my god.
Yeah. So he saw the guns. He saw the car stuck on the road, and he was like, "That money is mine, baby."
Yeah, slam dunk.
And he called the police, and he was like, "That money mine though." just putting it out there. Well, Chief Percy Boyd and Constable William Cal Campbell, it's a lot of Cals, were called to the scene. So as the cops approached, they spooked the gang, which is never a good idea.
No.
Don't spook the Barrows, they're a flighty bunch.
And then they started blasting.
Yeah. They killed Constable Campbell and wounded Boyd.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Don't spook the Barrows. Don't do it.
No, having people alert, that's the one thing you don't do. They're very easily spooked.
It's like, don't tap the glass. Mm-hmm. They don't like it. They don't like being spooked. They don't like being snuck up on. You gotta give them warning. They're like, hey, we're coming for you, just so you know.
That probably still wouldn't have worked out better for him anyway. Like,
Yeah.
I'm honestly thinking that if they were just like, hey, we are cops, don't shoot, I don't think that still would have went well.
No, I think if they had...
They needed to have the element of surprise on there.
Yeah, it was more like the Barrow gang needed to ambush the cops, and then they were more likely to get kidnapped and released.
Yeah.
But if the cops are like, hey, we have the advantage, like, stick him up, it was game over. Like, they were going to shoot first and ask questions later.
Yeah.
So, Campbell was 61 years old at the time. He was a widower, and he was survived by 2 sons and $5.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah,
big
he had a big family that he left behind.
That's so sad. Mm-hmm. Unfortunate.
So Clyde and Henry grabbed wounded Boyd and loaded him into the car. And then they drove over state lines into Kansas. So Boyd was then released. So he was kidnapped and taken. So they kind of did a little bit of both. They immediately killed Campbell without a second thought, but then they grabbed wounded Boyd, stuck him in the car, and released him in Fort Scott, Kansas. And they gave him a new shirt, a couple of dollars, and they were like,
that's the best we can do.
Real sorry about that, buddy.
Yeah.
Bonnie had a request for him, though.
Was it reasonable?
It was a very reasonable request, I think. I was like, she's allowed to do this. She said, can you tell the world that I don't smoke cigars? She's like, I don't smoke cigars. Yeah. Can you tell people I don't smoke?
I'm very, I am a little ladylike.
Yeah. Those tiny teeth ain't mine.
That's so funny. I love that that's her concern at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like, priorities, sure, Bonnie. Yep. You've just killed a man, but yeah. We'll tell the world that you don't smoke cigars.
We will clear your name about the cigars, for sure.
We will clear all that up. It'll all come out in the wash.
Just needs the world to know.
Yeah, she just wants to know she doesn't smoke cigars. So, when he was questioned about the ordeal, Chief Boyd was very easily able to identify Bonnie and Clyde. He was like, yeah, it was definitely Bonnie and Clyde. The non-cigar smoking Bonnie and small-teeth Clyde. He had no clue who Henry Methuen was. He was just some guy.
He's just some guy.
He said Bonnie, Clyde, and some guy. No cigars, Bonnie, Clyde, and some guy. That was who took me.
That's so funny.
In reports, he was only referred to as John Doe.
John Doe.
So yeah, it was Bonnie, Clyde, and John Doe.
I'm sure he loved that.
I'm sure Methuen was elated that he was finally rolling with Bonnie and Clyde, and he was known as John Doe.
Yeah. He definitely remembered the message about the cigars, but this other guy's names, who cares? We don't need to know.
No. I mean, Bonnie's very charming. She makes very reasonable requests.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to listen to Bonnie, but this kid, Henry Methuen, we don't know who he is.
Nah.
He's shooting cops. Yeah, well, Bonnie was in deep now, so any chance that she had for a lighter sentence was just gone. Because now the Grapevine murders have happened. Boyd has witnessed Campbell being killed. She's got the bounty on her head. She's got all these murder warrants on her. She's basically, she's in it. Before, she was just the getaway driver. She was in the building, but she never killed anyone. She was just sort of like, she participated, but she was never a murderer.
Yeah.
And now she was this chain-smoking, gun-wielding murderer, and the hammer was going to come down just as hard as it was on Clyde. Pretty much, she was guaranteed for a death sentence at this point. There's actually a newspaper cartoon that ran in the Dallas Journal, and it was a picture of an empty electric chair with a sign that said "Reserved for Bonnie and Clyde."
Oh,
yeah, classy, right?
Yeah, that's. I'm sure they loved seeing that.
Yeah, I think that they were feeling a little, feeling the pressure for sure.
And like you said, what a shift comparatively to where like people were willing to let them live in their houses, Yeah, I got an extra room, Bonnie and Clyde. I'm totally, I like what you guys are doing. Stick it to the man. like you said, just maybe, lock up when you leave. Like, that's all,
like, just like, don't take my car. Just don't take my car. That's all
really,
I want.
really just stuff like that to, like you said, now the entire public opinion is just like, no, they need to be dead.
Yeah, like, we need to catch them. They need to be put on trial. They need to be killed. They need to be away.
Yeah, they are a nuisance.
They're just on the run, and that's stressful.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, but this time, Bob Alcorn and Ted Hinton, remember those boys?
Oh my gosh, Hinton?
Yeah, Bob Alcorn, who was like, I caught WD, but I want to catch Bonnie and Clyde. And Ted Hinton was like, hey, I know Bonnie. She used to work at the cafe that I liked. Now she doesn't work there, and I don't go there anymore, and I'm not a postal worker anymore. They were invited to join Hammer and Galt, the Texas Rangers. So they were brought in as the next set of the posse.
Wow.
Yeah. So Bob Alcorn, he was an accomplished cop at the time. So he, Hammer was like, okay, so one, you caught WD, you caught their intern, which is really cool. And you're kind of familiar with their stomping ground. We love that. Ted Hinton, he was like, I
don't really know how much I can offer you.
Yeah, they're just like, well, he's here.
Yeah.
And pretty much they recognized that he was able to visually identify Bonnie and Clyde, which made him invaluable, but they didn't trust him. Because he was young and inexperienced. He was fresh on the force. He was, I think he was like 24 at this time. He was a young cop, fresh on the force. He was a postal worker before, but he knew Bonnie.
Yeah.
And he knew Clyde. So they were like, well, keep him on the team. He's important to the team. We need him to identify Bonnie and Clyde because the rest of us don't know what they look like other than their pictures, and they could have changed by now because that was a long time ago. But Hammer and Galt and Alcorn, they kept secrets from Hinton. They were like, if you don't need to know, you don't need to know. Don't ask questions. Just do what we say.
Just identify Bonnie and Clyde if you see them. Other than that, sit there and shut up. Thank you.
Yeah, pretty much. So now we're in May of 1934, which is where my story began, if you remember.
Yes, I was like, wow, we're already 1934. We made it through the 2 years.
We made it, and it's May. It's May 1934. Clyde has 16 outstanding warrants for his arrest in 4 states. Some are for robbery, auto theft, regular theft, escape, assault, and of course, murder. Frank Hammer, he just wanted to be the one to cash it in. He had been tracking these guys since February, since Ma Ferguson was like, yep, good luck, buddy. Let's see if you can do it.
Yeah.
So he had become really familiar with the Barrow Gang's MO. And he figured out that the Barrow Gang moves in a very large circle. So they're hitting these 4 or 5 states in this massive circle, kind of weaving a little bit from town to town.
Yeah.
But it's consistent. And the other thing that he learned was that there was an intent behind the circle. So the gang would skirt like the edges of 5 Midwestern states, fully exploiting the flee across the state lines thing.
Yeah.
And so it was basically they were just keeping in this pocket. So in case anything wrong, they could just whoop,
just hop over the line. Yeah. Like a cheap little, like, get out of jail free card. Haha, they just, like, wiggle their fingers and they're at their noses,
Yeah. And Hammer also found out this was a consistent pattern. So every couple of months, they would just repeat the cycle and repeat the cycle and repeat the cycle. To start in Texas, move into the next state, move into the next state, move into the next state, back in Texas, then do it again, and then do it again. Hammer also figured out that Clyde's driving movements circled around family visits.
Okay.
Including their newest member, Henry Methvin. So whoever was in the gang at the time, they prioritized visiting their families while they were driving in that 5-state circle.
That makes sense.
So of course they went to Dallas for Bonnie and Clyde and WD. And then with Methvin now in, Methvin's family was located in Louisiana. And now they know that they've got this John Doe Henry Methvin character. Hammer's now like, okay, I figured out who John Doe is. Like, I just need to figure out where their next family visit is. I just need to know where he lives.
Yeah.
And Hammer was about to be handed the golden fucking ticket. Opportunity was arising, my friend.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So on May 19th, after a series of Iowa-based robberies, the gang finds themselves in Shreveport, Louisiana, where Methvin's family is. So Methvin was sent into a diner to get sandwiches for the gang, like the gang.
This is just like before flashbacks to WD.
Yeah, pretty much. This is WD 2.0. I'm sure they were like, go into the store and get sandwiches, WD. And he's like, my name's Henry, and they're like, yeah, that's what we said. I'm pretty sure this is what was happening.
Literally, oh my god.
He was on intern duty. He was. So Henry's getting the Sammies, and a police officer drove by the diner. And, Clyde spooked. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like...
And so I'm sure he just leaves him?
Just fucking left.
Oh my
without
god.
His sandwiches. He leaves Henry in this diner. Because Clyde's like, I either shoot this cop because I'm spooked, or I flee. And I'm gonna flee. And he fled. And so there's just fucking Henry standing in this diner with 3 sandwiches. He's like, oh, I guess I get 3 sandwiches.
I can imagine him, like he turns around, after getting the sandwiches, and he starts walking back out to the car, and then he kind of gets there, and he's like, guys... hello?
Yeah, it's like, buddy, Clyde, like, where are you? So funny.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he stood there for a minute or two. Like, oh my god, this entire thing.
Yeah. So they just fucking left him. They left him. But remember, they had a plan. Remember when WD got separated, when he got separated?
Yeah.
They knew where he was gonna go. They had these rendezvous points, which happened to be their families. So Henry had to go home. And Bonnie and Clyde would meet him at his house.
Okay.
They would take the long way, not to draw attention, but they would eventually make it to Ruston, where Henry's family lived.
Gotcha.
But oops, Hammer's looking for that house.
Yeah.
And suddenly, Methvin's been left in this diner, and he's hitchhiking to his parents' home. Hammer's like, got him. They're going to Henry's house next, because he lives in Louisiana. So the Barragan's not stupid, right? So they know that going to the actual family home is a terrible fucking idea. Because 1, cops are just going to be waiting there anyway. Yeah. And 2, if something goes awry, they're putting their families in danger. So they never ever actually meet at their family homes. They meet near their family homes. But it's a pre-disclosed rendezvous location that they set up.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And this rendezvous location is also the plan when they do get split up. So, if anything happened to Bonnie and she would go back to Dallas, go to the rendezvous spot near her house, yada yada, Clyde would come get her.
Gotcha.
Same story for Henry. He's newer in the gang, but they have this established.
Gotcha.
So, Henry made a mistake.
Oh.
He went home first. He didn't go straight to the rendezvous site. He went home.
Oh, no.
And he told his dad, Ivan Methvin, everything.
No.
He was like, Dad, you're never going to believe it. I'm running with Bonnie and Clyde. They're so cool. We killed a bunch of cops. Like, they're going to come get me. The rendezvous point is exactly here. They left me at a diner, which was crazy. I had some sandwiches. It was fun. But don't worry. In a couple of days, Bonnie and Clyde are going to come get me. And his dad's like, Henry, they're wanted in 4 states for murder.
Yeah.
Henry's like, yeah, they're not that bad. Like, I wanted in one of them.
You should meet Bonnie. She doesn't smoke cigars, but she's still pretty cool.
Yeah, Bonnie's great. Like, she makes a mean casserole, let me tell you.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so Ivan's also a super concerned dad. Henry's young. He's WD, essentially. He's young. I think he's 20 at this point.
Yeah.
And he also knew the heat that the Barrow Gang was under, and he's like, I don't want my son running with these guys. They're scary. As far as he's aware, Bonnie's a fucking chain-smoking hooligan who laughs at people's heads hitting the ground.
Yeah, he's like, my kid's gonna end up dead out there with them. They don't care.
And he's like, look at the rest of the gang. Look at Buck. Look at Blanche. Look at Ray Hamilton.
That's
look at
his own
Joe
brother.
Palmer.
And that's...
Yeah, like, look what happened to his family.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
And never mind what's going to happen to my kid who he doesn't care about.
Yeah, exactly.
So, as most concerned fathers are, he wasn't super keen on his son, 1, dying with Bonnie and Clyde, or 2, getting into the electric chair.
Yeah.
Oh, I have it here. Henry is 22 at this time, so 22. He's much younger. He's just a little bit younger than Bonnie, and he's like 4 years younger than Clyde. He's a young man. He's got his whole life ahead of him, and his dad's like, I just want my son safe.
Yeah.
I just want him to be safe. So Ivan rats him out. Ivan goes to a lawmaker named Henderson Jordan, and he's like, hey, I've got a tip. I think I know where Bonnie and Clyde are going to be. And he gives Jordan the rendezvous location in exchange for the promise that Henry would not get the death penalty.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like, I can tell you this information. I know where Bonnie and Clyde are going to be, but you got to promise that my boy is safe.
Yeah, that's fair.
And Jordan is like, consider it done, old man.
Yeah.
So Jordan goes to Hammer, who is like, I fucking knew it! I knew they were in Louisiana! And as far as I can tell, I don't know if Henry knew about this deal. It doesn't say anywhere that Henry was aware that this was going on, and I don't think he was. I think this was Ivan being like, forgive me, son, I'm doing this for you.
Yeah.
Hammer and Jordan, they meet up. They finally got this information. Ivan's like, I'll give it to you, but you need to protect my son. And they were like, easy. We'll just go talk to Ma Ferguson. It'll be super easy.
Yeah.
So they make a plan. An ambush. Because that's the best way to get Bonnie and Clyde. Get a posse, get an ambush, and now we know where they are.
Yeah.
We've got the home field advantage. And they got Ivan in on it, weirdly enough, on a further exchange that Henry would also be free of prosecution in Texas.
Okay.
So Texas couldn't come for him. So he made the deal that Louisiana couldn't prosecute him, and then he would be safe from the death penalty in Louisiana, and now Texas can't pursue his son. So he basically like, I'm covering my butt. My son is going to be as safe as possible. I'll do whatever it takes. I just need to make sure he's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a pretty sweet frickin' deal. Like, I would say that...
What a nice dad.
Right? Fucking Ivan, man. He's the MVP of this whole freaking group.
Truly.
And, yeah, I mean, like, Texas is probably going to be the harshest in terms of, like, prosecution.
Yeah.
And Louisiana's where the Grapevine murders are, so that means that Henry can't be prosecuted for this horrible deed that Bonnie and Clyde did that painted Bonnie as this chain-smoking psychopath. And, you know, Clyde's already got that title just with 16 warrants out for his arrest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he basically just completely cushioned his brother. Like, don't worry, Bonnie and Clyde will take the fall for the Grapevine murders, and Henry will be good to go.
Wow.
Hammer obtained a signed clemency from Mar Ferguson to confirm this. So, the paperwork was in place. Like, Henry wasn't gonna do any time for this. And copies were provided to Jordan and Ivan, so everyone was in the know. Ivan had confirmation that his son was going to be okay. Jordan had this being like, okay, we fulfilled our side of the bargain. You've got to do this now, or this will get ripped up. And then Hammer had the last one being like, I've got the final copy. What I say goes. This is my team, and we're going to do it this way.
Wow.
So,
this plan
May
was
22nd. Yeah, May 22nd, the posse was assembled. It's the 6 men from the beginning of the story. Yeah, all 6 of them are here now, baby. So now we've got Frank Hammer at the lead of the operation. We've got Ted Hinton, the one who can visually identify. We've got Bob Alcorn, who caught WD. We've got Galt, who is Hammer's best buddy from the Rangers. Now we've got Jordan in on the operation. He's like, I want to cut of this pie. I'm the deal maker.
Yeah.
And we get a guy called Prentice Morrell Oakley, who is another Louisiana cop.
Okay.
So they're we've got these 2 Texas Rangers, we've got these 2 Lowtown Dallas cops, and now we've got these 2 Louisiana cops, and they have been smashed together into this kind of impromptu posse, but they're like, we're going to be the ones that catch Bonnie and Clyde.
All right.
And now they've got Ivan Methvin as bait, because they made him say, you're going to participate in this.
Oh.
You're getting involved. Because now your son's okay, you've got to do your part.
So what's the deal?
Yeah. So, the deal was, Ivan is parking his truck on the side of the road on the Louisiana State Highway 154, south of Gippsland, towards Sales. Mm-hmm. If you want to go there you go. That's where you want to go. This is close to the rendezvous point where Bonnie and Clyde are going to meet. Get Methvin. Methvin can meet his dad. This is where they were supposed to go. Ivan was then handcuffed to a nearby tree to assure his cooperation.
Wow.
Yeah, just so he didn't get any ideas and be like, no, it's a trap, don't do it.
Yeah.
He was in it. He was right there.
Yeah.
In the throes of it. He had front row seats to what was going to happen.
Wow. All right.
So, the posse then parks Ivan's truck, partially blocking the road. So it's tilted on the road, and it looks like it's broken down.
Yeah.
So it looks like it kind of tried to veer off the road, but didn't quite make it. It looks like it's in some sort of distress. They positioned it also in the direction that they knew Bonnie and Clyde would be coming from. So they knew that Bonnie and Clyde would see this and be like, oh no, like somebody needs help.
Yeah.
They also removed the front right tire. So Clyde would see the truck was in distress, and 2, they also couldn't use the truck as a form of escape if they somehow managed to get out of the car that they were in. So they basically cut off that form of escape. If anything happened to their car and they hopped into that one, they couldn't go anywhere.
That's smart. Good forethought.
Yeah. And they knew that Bonnie and Clyde knew Ivan Methvin. They'd met him before. They were familiar with him, and they considered him part of the Barrow Gang family as far as they were concerned.
Yeah.
So 100% they would see this truck, know it belonged to Ivan Methvin, and they're like, oh no, that's Henry's dad, and he needs trouble.
Yeah.
He's in trouble.
Yeah.
He needs help.
He needs some trouble.
Yeah. He needs some trouble, and he's getting it. We're bringing the trouble.
They were sure good at that.
They were very good at bringing the trouble, and bringing the trouble they did. But first, Posse's got to hide. So they hide in the nearby bushes around this thing. Ivan's handcuffs to the tree. The truck's in position. The 6 men are hiding in the bushes on the side of the road, and they wait all night.
Oh, wow. That's some dedication, man. Sitting in a bush
They
all night.
were catching these outlaws if it was the last thing they did. So, it's May 23rd, 1934, 9:15 in the morning. The posse is lying in wait on the side of the road. They were concealed by bushes. And they were actually, at this point, they were getting ready to, like, pack up and go home. They were like, shit, maybe we missed him.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they got wise to the operation. Maybe someone, like, tipped them off. Maybe Henry tipped them off. Like, this is looking real bad. We've been here all night, and there's not a sign of them.
Yeah, they didn't bring the sandwiches. They
didn't bring the sandwiches. Henry ate them. He ate the sandwiches. Stupid Henry. No. And they were actually, like, kind of whispering in the bushes, like, do you think we should go home? And they were getting antsy. They didn't know each other. It was these 3 factions of cops. They were like, don't really know how I feel about this Hinton guy. This Hammer guy's a loudmouth. Alcorn wants all the credit.
Yeah.
And Jordan's like, well, I just got to make sure that Henry and Ivan get out the other side.
Yeah. And I'm sure once one of them started to be like, you want to pack up? It was kind of like, oh, yeah, that kind of doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, we're kind of tired. I've been up all night.
Yeah.
And they were literally about to when they heard an engine coming up the road, going 70 miles an hour, because that's the only speed Clyde did.
Oh, my God.
He only went full speed. You think he would learn from the bridge thing, but no. And lo and behold, there was Bonnie and Clyde speeding down the rural road in a stolen Ford V8,
Wow.
just as Hammer predicted.
Wow.
They spotted the truck, recognized it as Ivan's truck, and they pulled over to help.
They did exactly what they wanted them to do. I'm shocked that worked so well. I mean, bravo.
Yeah, but I mean, you gotta remember, Hammer studied these guys for months. He was in their heads. He was thinking like Clyde. He was like, Clyde would drive this way. Clyde would do this. They're both injured. They're gonna stop here. They're gonna look for these supplies. This is where their families are. I don't know where their rendezvous spots are. They're the most vulnerable when they think they're going for their family. The closest we ever got to catching them is a posse in an ambush. Here it is, and it pretty much was like, we have one shot at this. They're in a faster car. They've got better weapons. If we fuck this up, we're dead.
Yeah.
The 6 of us in this bush, that's it. We're dead. So, Bonnie and Clyde pulled over, slowed down to help. And I'm going to specify, they slowed down to help. They did not stop. All hell broke loose. The posse began firing at the car while it was still moving.
Oh, my God.
They didn't check to see who was driving it. They saw the car, saw it was slowing down. It was a Ford V8. They were like, Bonnie and Clyde drive a Ford V8. We're concealed in the bushes. Visibility is low. The dust storms are happening. It's 9:15 in the morning. We're tired.
It's now or never.
If this is Bonnie and Clyde, we got him. And if it's not Bonnie and Clyde, we're sorry. We will apologize to whoever we just fucking massacred. But we need to go. Because if we give them a second to realize, if Clyde's 6th sense goes off, we're done.
Yeah.
He's gonna fucking get out of there and we'll never catch him.
Yeah.
Oakley fired the first shot. Prentice Oakley. Likely before any order. He was the first one to go, and that was probably, everyone was like, oh shit, we're firing.
Yeah, we're going now.
Oakley fired, shot Clyde in the head, and killed him instantly.
Oh my God.
That first shot was the lethal shot that killed Clyde Barrow.
Wow.
Hinton later reported hearing Bonnie's scream.
Wow.
So Clyde's like, I'm going to pull over, I'm going to stop, I'm going to help Ivan, and then he's just gone.
Jesus.
And I'm sure Bonnie had she had a second
To react.
to kind of what happened?
Yeah.
I'm suddenly covered in Clyde. What happened? And then it's just hell. It's just barrage. So Hammer officially gave the order to shoot, and over 130 rounds were fired, emptying every single weapon that the posse had into this car. They were taking no chances. They had to. They couldn't take a chance because they knew the kind of weapons that Bonnie and Clyde had. They knew what they were going to do if they got any sort of inkling that something was wrong.
Yeah.
And they didn't know that they've killed Clyde. Yeah. And Bonnie and Clyde have survived being shot before. Bonnie and Clyde have survived falling into a ravine from a bridge. Bonnie has survived losing essentially a leg. Clyde's been shot, he's been maimed, he's been trampled, he's been, he's been through it. They've survived.
They wanted
so
to make sure.
Yeah. They needed to make sure. So here is a statement made by Hinton and Alcorn after the effect. Each of us 6 officers had a shotgun, an automatic rifle, and pistols. We opened fire with the automatic rifles. They were emptied before the car even got with us. Then we used the shotguns. There was smoke coming from the car. It looked like it was on fire. After shooting the shotguns, we emptied the pistols at the car, which had passed us and run about into a ditch 50 yards down on the road. It was almost turned over. We kept shooting at the car even after it stopped. We weren't taking any chances.
I cannot imagine, the actual, adrenaline, the fear that these men were feeling in this moment. Like you said, to continuously, all 6 of them standing over this car were... I'm sure at some point it was pretty obvious no one was going to climb out of this thing with the amount of bullet holes, and they continued to shoot just to make sure.
And truly, they had no idea. There was no way they could have known when the moment that Bonnie and Clyde died, and they couldn't even guarantee that even after they unloaded 130 rounds into this car that they didn't survive. I'm sure, even after it was done and the car was just stuck in this ditch.
It was still probably harrowing to approach it and just look
And
inside.
they're and even then it's something, we don't have, all of our weapons are empty.
Yeah, that was probably a shock.
They're all of our weapons are empty. We have to approach this car, and if by some miracle Bonnie and Clyde have survived, or that wasn't Bonnie and Clyde, we have to deal with those consequences.
Yep.
And so, they'll load the go, and it was just this barrage of noise and adrenaline and fear and I need to catch them, and I'm going to be the one to catch them, and I need to catch them. And poor Ivan, he's handcuffed to a tree across the road,
watching it,
and he has front row seats to what's happening. And I'm sure he's like, what if they hit me?
What if my son is in that car?
Yeah, he doesn't know.
Yeah, he has no clue.
Yeah, so this was the end of Bonnie and Clyde, unfortunately. They did not survive the amount of rounds that flew into that car. Overkill to the extreme.
Yeah, not surprising.
So film footage taken right after this shows about 112 bullet holes in the vehicle, which means a couple of the shots missed. A quarter of these bullets hit Bonnie and Clyde.
Wow.
According to the official coroner's report, Bonnie was hit 26 times.
Wow.
Clyde was hit more than 17 times. The coroner also said, I lost count and I got tired after counting the amount of bullet holes. So it's possible Clyde was hit more, but the coroner was just like, 17, it's gonna do it.
Yeah.
Both had been hit by several headshots, and Clyde's spinal column had been severed.
Wow.
The undertaker apparently had extreme difficulty embalming the bodies because of the sheer amount of bullet holes in these 2.
Wow.
Yeah. So needless to say, the posse were deafened after that. 6 men unloading 3 different types of guns into a moving car. I'm sure it just rang.
Yeah.
For a good moment where it's just the smoke clear, the car is at a standstill. They're all just standing in these bushes with these empty guns, and it's just ringing in their ears.
God, what a moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
What an unbelievable moment.
So eventually, after they kind of got a little bit of their hearing back, and they kind of regained their composure and oh shit, okay. Nobody's coming out. We're not hearing any movement. We're not seeing anything. Nobody's responding. Let's go check this car out. They searched the bullet-riddled car and discovered an entire arsenal of weapons that Bonnie and Clyde did not get the chance to use. And some of them even said, seeing the weapons in the backseat of the car really hammered home if we hadn't done it, if we hadn't done what we did, they would have done it to us.
Absolutely.
And they had much better weapons than the posse did.
And they've done it before. They would have not hesitated at all.
No. As soon as Clyde got that weird feeling, he either would have fled or he would have turned. And those 6 men could have very easily ended up dead on the side of the road. And I'm sure they knew that. They're if this goes sour, we're dead.
Yeah. No, you have to be the one to shoot first in this situation.
Yeah, you've got to say goodbye to your families the night before. You can make your peace with God, with whatever you believe in, and you've just got to commit that, you're going to be in this bush all night, and you might not make it out of that bush.
I can't even imagine.
I'm sure, this whole thing was so surreal, and I'm sure this moment was probably the clearest moment out of the whole event, because what happens after is just a fucking circus. On top of the arsenal that they didn't get a chance to use, there were also 15 sets of license plates from a variety of states.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were holding on to these bad boy, and they were rotating these license plates out for, because I'm sure the Stringtown one, not the Stringtown one, when they visited Bonnie's aunt in New Mexico, it was the fact that they had an out-of-state license plate that got them flagged.
Yeah.
They were like, we need to be careful.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we're on top of this shit. And I think there was even a quote later from an old member of the gang who was like, they were, more often than not, Bonnie and Clyde were wielding screwdrivers more than they ever wielded guns.
That's funny. It's just like you said, changing out license plates and making sure they fit in.
Yeah, because if that's a small step that you have to take to just make sure that you're not caught, then it's worth pulling over for 20 minutes on the side of the road and just change out your license plate while you're doing it.
Yeah. No, I didn't even think about that, but it makes a big difference.
It does. They also found Clyde's saxophone back at the car.
Okay. I'm glad
he was still holding on to it.
Yeah, I'm surprised he still had it after all this time.
Yeah. So in terms of Bonnie and Clyde, however, Clyde was discovered slumped over the steering wheel. So, pretty much died where he sat. Bonnie's passenger door had opened during the onslaught, and she had slid out of the car onto the ground. So she was in the ditch.
Wow.
Yeah. So Hammer, Jordan, Oakley, and Hinton drove into town to call all of their respective bosses, like, hey guys, you're never gonna guess what we fucking did.
Oh my god.
So they left Gott and Alcorn to guard the scene.
Okay.
So there's 2 of the posse who are at this car. They've got a guy handcuffed to the tree across the road, and 4 of them have gone into town to make their respective calls to Texas and Louisiana and Oklahoma, and all of them be like, hey guys. And I'm sure Hammer was like, I'm gonna call Ma Ferguson first and tell her to fuck herself. I did it. Well, okay, so we're gonna get into the trigger warning now. This is the trigger warning for attempted corpse desecration.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so
I forgot about that.
It's quick. Yeah, it's quick, but it happened. Just in case. So, news spread real fucking quick what had happened. I'm pretty sure people could hear it for miles. They, all of those guns just unloaded at a frequent consistency, and then 4 of the posse come in going, we did it! We fucking killed Bonnie and Clyde! Woo! Yeah. A very large, very morbidly curious crowd began to form on this little peak in the Louisiana freeway.
Oh, and there's 2 guys to hold him back away from this car.
And there are 2 people guarding this whole thing. And 1 guy handcuffed to a tree who's like, my son's free, my son's safe, my son's okay. So, 1 woman managed to cut some of Bonnie's hair.
Oh my god.
And pieces of cloth from her dress.
That's just fucked.
Which were later sold as souvenirs. She made money off of this.
What a horrible person. To make money off a tragedy. Anyone dying, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. Ted Hinton returned. He was the first of the 4 to come back. And he was like, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah.
He came back and immediately stopped a man trying to cut off Clyde's trigger finger.
Are you fucking serious?
This insane crowd were like, I want bits of them to sell.
Because they were such a sensation. They're like, this is the Bonnie and Clyde. At that point, I don't think people were really looking at them as people. It was just like,
no,
they were Bonnie and Clyde. They surpassed, that's just insane to think about. That someone standing there, a normal person, is willing to cut off a dead man's finger to sell it. That's a normal thing to do.
Yeah, no, and it's awful. But it was like you said, they weren't people anymore. They were celebrities.
Yeah.
And, from the beginning, when their rise to fame happened, they were this sexy, glamorous, beautiful couple, and they were madly in love, and they were they were basically Hollywood stars.
Yeah.
And then when they became infamous, and they were cold and calculated psychopaths, and people stopped seeing them as humans, they saw them as monsters. Yeah. And they were like, well, they kill people, so why can't I hurt them?
Yeah.
Why can't I take a piece of them? They belong to me. They may be they may be unhappy. They owe me this.
Yeah.
These dead bodies owe me this. And it was like, no. Like, at the end of the day, they are still people, and they were desperate people.
Yeah, no, that's just wild to me.
Yeah. So, the coroner showed up right after, and he had this to say. Nearly everyone had begun collecting souvenirs, such as shell casings, slivers of glass from shattered car windows, and bloody pieces of clothing from the garments of Bonnie and Clyde. One eager man had opened his pocket knife and was reaching into the car to cut off Clyde's left ear.
Oh.
Yeah. This is what people... They were just people clawing at this car to grab what they could before the cops kind of like built this circle and pushed them away because they saw an opportunity here.
It almost in my head I'm picturing like a scene from a zombie movie where people are like reaching in to these dead bodies, like just like you said, clawing at these bodies. Like what a wild scene to observe. I cannot even imagine. It doesn't matter like you said, the actual person. It's a person.
It's a person in a car full of bullet holes, and this car is gruesome. It's full of blood.
Yeah,
like it's full of holes
I'm sure,
and
like
blood
you said,
and tissue
and painted and just horrible.
And Bonnie and Clyde are covered in each other.
Yeah,
and it's just it's grim. It's gruesome. It's awful. Well, Hammer comes back right after this, and he's like, "Guys, what the actual fuck?" And he shouted this crowd into submission. He basically, the good old Texas Ranger was like, you guys need to fuck the fuck up.
Yeah.
And he basically turned this circus frenzy. They were like, we need to get you away from this car. They pushed that crowd away.
Good.
Because that's what Texas Rangers do.
They mean business.
Yeah, but they're also thinking, like, how are we going to handle this? So now people know where the crime scene is. How are we going to get as much evidence and like, get this scene to where it needs to be, get it to a mortician, a morgue, a hospital, whatever we need. How do we get it there without this crowd going fucking bananas?
Yeah.
So they decided to tow the car with the bodies of Bonnie and Clyde still inside.
Because that's not going to draw attention.
But it was the only thing they could do. If they took the bodies out, then the car was exposed and people were going to grab at the car and take things. And if they took the car and left the bodies, then people were going to try and cut off pieces of Bonnie and Clyde.
That's true.
Yeah, so... They made a decision. We're going to tow the car with the bodies inside of it and get it to the nearest town.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, it worked. So they took the bodies to Conger Furniture Store and Funeral Parlor in downtown Arcadia, Louisiana. And so this was the common furniture thing. It was common for furniture stores and funeral parlors to be the same thing. And I immediately thought of my episode of Ouija boards with the coffin maker, furniture maker, undertaker. And I was like, oh, that's just a thing.
It was, yeah, apparently. That's
like that. You just were a coffin maker, furniture maker, undertaker. That's just what you did.
That's one isn't enough to keep you busy. You think people are buying furniture every day of the week? No, but people are dying.
Yeah. And they shared a space. There was the furniture store was it was in the left side of the place, and then the funeral parlor was on the right. It's kind of like you go to the photo studio inside the ball. It was kind of like that.
Gotcha.
Where it's like you want to buy a chair, or do you want to go turn in Uncle Jed, who's just passed away from the pneumonias?
Oh my gosh.
And we do both. You can get yourself a chair and wait.
That's convenience.
It's just handy dandy. So. Did not come with Ouija boards, so that was exclusively an Ohio feature. So, preliminary embalming was done by Undertaker C.F. Boots Bailey.
Oh, Boots.
And I'm like, these guys have the coolest names. You have Schmoot Schmidt, Boots Bailey.
Boots Bailey.
And he did it in a small room in the back of the store to prepare them for identification. Within hours, the population of Arcadia swelled from 2,000 people to 12,000 people.
Are you actually serious?
People just came in waves.
They came in an enormous amount of people. What?
And this was in a span of a couple of hours, and they came in any way they could. They came on horseback, train, some coming in like a wooden wagon, some flew in. Some got on a plane and flew into Arcadia. This also included Clyde's family, specifically his dad, Henry Barrow.
Wow.
Because he had to come in and identify his son.
Wow.
And here's this circus of people, like, I want his finger, I want his ear, I want this, and he had to just come into this furniture store and come into this back room and look at this bullet-riddled corpse of his son and go,
yep, that's him.
That's my boy.
Wow.
So yeah, he identified his son's body, then he went to the furniture section of the store, sat in a rocking chair, and just cried.
I can only imagine how just devastating that is. It doesn't matter, it's his kid. That's his kid.
It is. Because he's also one of the few people at this moment who are thinking about them as people.
Exactly. And being surrounded by a sea of people who are being so callous to the situation, I can only... Yeah, that is just a very tough situation, because he didn't do anything wrong.
No. And this is his second son that he's lost in the span of 2 years.
Yeah, to crime and to the same thing. And I'm sure he held a little resentment toward Clyde for Buck's death. So if he knew the extent of it, I don't know. But also, remember,
the person who came to identify Buck's body was his mom. His dad never got a chance to say goodbye to Buck. He got the news later.
So that even makes it harder.
So he didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to Clyde either. So he didn't get a chance to say goodbye to Buck or Clyde. His mom got a chance to say goodbye to Buck, but Clyde was gone in an instant. He was just snuffed.
Yep.
And it's just this poor man who, and I'm sure the mother was already distraught from having to go in and see Buck in the state that he was in with the hole in his head. And then Henry Barrow coming in, and he's just like, I'm going to do this for my wife. I'm going to be the one to do it. And just seeing what they did to his son.
Yeah, because like you said, you have to do it. You need to help them identify the body. It has to be done. There's no one else that can positively identify, but that is just a horrible thing for a parent to have to go through.
Well, speaking of, just in case it was the grief of the situation that skewed the thing, they got as many people who were familiar with Bonnie and Clyde as possible to come in and identify the bodies.
Ah.
And Bonnie's family wasn't immediately available to come identify the bodies, so they were looking for, has anyone been associating with them that's out that we can just bring them in and have a look at these bodies?
Yeah.
So do you remember Mr. Darby?
Mr. Darby?
The undertaker who chased the Barrow gang because they stole their car right in front of him?
The one that Bonnie asked so kindly if he would be the one to take care of them after they were gone?
Yeah, that guy. He was in the town over, and he was confirmed to have been familiar and on friendly terms with Bonnie and Clyde after they stole his car. So they grabbed him and Sophia Stone from the town over Ruston, Louisiana, and they were like, hey, we think Bonnie and Clyde, we've just killed them. Can you come in and have a look?
Wow.
And they were like, oh shit, I promised Bonnie. I'm going to come over right away. I'll be right there. And he came to Arcadia, Louisiana, and he assisted Bailey with the embalming.
He fulfilled his promise.
He kept his promise. And I'm like, wow, Darby.
Wow.
But yeah, so he also successfully identified Bonnie and Clyde, helped Bailey during the embalming. He kept his promise. Bonnie and Clyde were officially proclaimed dead on May 23rd, 1934, a Whit Monday. Oh, which is the other weird twist to my Erdington thing. Bonnie was married to Thornton and she died on a Whit Monday. It's so weird.
That is really weird.
So I'm just saying, if you know someone named Thornton, be careful with them on Whit Monday. That's all I'm saying.
Be careful with them. Oh.
Be careful with them.
We can't.
So, Bonnie was 23 years old when she died. Clyde was 25.
Wow.
They're babies.
They really were so young. I can't even... And
they're younger than us.
The lives that they lived, even up until this point, I mean, they did a lot of living. A lot of running, a lot of...
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, if you think about it, Bonnie was married at 15. She was living since, let's say, 15.
Yeah.
It's just, and Clyde, he was stealing chickens with his brother, and it was such a quick turnaround from when he was, just quickly loading that safe into that truck with his brother, and his brother got shot in the legs, to how this went down. So
it is a very, very tragic ending to a tragic story, to be honest with you.
It is, and it's a very surreal experience. From the beginning, you could never see how this was going to go, and I don't think Bonnie and Clyde ever expected this to be the way that it was going to go.
No. But it's weird how I think public perception of them has continued to not paint them as people. I mean, even think about your perception of who Bonnie and Clyde were before this. To me, they were just names. I did not know of who they were as individuals. I could not put a face to a name. I had no idea. They were an enigma. They were a story. And that has carried on for a long time. And I think it's very important to actually learn the story, good or bad or otherwise.
Yeah, and I mean, I think about, when I saw that I saw this and I was like, I want to do this. And my only perception of Bonnie and Clyde was they were bank robbers and they died in a shootout. But I assumed that they died fighting.
Yeah.
And they had no chance.
Yeah.
This was instant.
No, I imagine them, him
Blaze of glory.
dipping her down, giving her one last kiss and going, all right, baby, we're going to go out guns a-blazing. And they go out there double pistol, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a movie. That to me was not anticlimactic, but just so unexpected comparatively to what this entire journey has taken us on. It was just like, wow, like that really is how it's going to end. And I mean, that's what it took. It wouldn't have ended any other way.
No, and it really was. Like, they weren't going to die in a gun shootout. They were lucky. They were lucky to a fault.
Yeah.
And they outgunned everyone that they went against because they had the BARs. And so really this was the only feasible way that they could get out with the least amount of casualties. But it's so strange where you create this illusion of Bonnie and Clyde. And they're basically, they're the perfect outlaw. They're sexy, they're beautiful, they're misunderstood, they're sticking it to the man. And then they're just gone.
Yeah, just like that.
And there's no fanfare. Like you said, there was no, like, it's you and me, baby, us against the world. We're gonna go out guns a-blazing.
They didn't even get to say goodbye to each other. In a minute, it was just over.
Yeah, they were just pulling over to help a gang member's family member, because they did. That's what they did. They cared for their family.
Yep.
And if you were in the gang, you were family.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, so...
What a wild ride, ma'am. Thank you so much for doing the research with this one.
We're not done yet, ma'am.
What?
We're not done. I've got gang members to talk about.
I guess that's true. We do have some loose ends I need to...
And I haven't even talked about their funerals.
Yeah, I want to know what happened to Blanche. Tell me what happened to Henry. I need to know.
I will tell you everything about the gang that I know, but first we're going to talk about their funeral and burial.
Okay.
So after the ambush, the arrangements for Bonnie and Clyde were made, like, immediately.
Okay.
Bonnie and Clyde had made it very clear to all of their family members and all of their acquaintances that they wanted to be buried side by side. They wanted to be together just as much as they were in life. They wanted to be together in death. And, you know, because they loved each other.
Understandably, yeah.
Yeah. And Bonnie's family were like, yeah, no. No. I'm sure it was partly because, do you remember, Bonnie, you're married to somebody else?
That's true.
And also, I think Bonnie's parents were a little bit spiteful.
Yeah, like this guy dragged you into this life.
Yeah, like you could have been anything. You could have been a beautician. You could have been a poet. You could have been this. You could have been this. You could have made it in Hollywood if you had tried. And instead, you chose this life of crime with what they thought was kind of a loser.
Yeah.
You know, he was a bumbling. He wasn't a big time crook. He wasn't robbing banks. He was robbing funeral parlors, gas stations, and grocery stores.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, when they got the news that Bonnie had been killed in a police-related accident, I'm sure they were very vengeful. They were like, there is no way we are sending our baby daughter off with this guy.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't belong to him. She belongs to us. She's our family.
Yeah.
She's Bonnie Parker.
Yeah.
She wasn't Bonnie Barrow.
That's just a nope.
That's just a nope.
Yeah.
So her mother tried to bring Bonnie back to the family home. So they went all the way up to Louisiana. They got Bonnie's body, and they tried to bring her back home. But the sheer swarm of people that had surrounded the Parker home made that physically impossible.
Wow.
Bonnie never got to go home.
Wow.
Yeah. Bonnie's funeral was on May 26th, 1934, and 20,000 people attended.
What the fuck?
20,000 people attended Bonnie's funeral.
That's...
And her family struggled to even make it to her gravesite. That was how many people there were. Their family couldn't make it to the gravesite.
I mean, as tragic as that is for the family, why do I have a feeling that Bonnie would have loved that?
Oh, Bonnie, I'm sure would have eaten that up. She was like, I made it, Ma, I'm famous.
120,000 people at her funeral. She would have, like you said, just eaten that up. That's, wow.
And some of my sources said that Bonnie wanted to be a film star. She wanted to be on the screen. She wanted to be a movie star.
Yeah.
But she knew that because she was dirt poor from West Dallas, and she was no way she was, one, had the money to get to Hollywood, and two, like, she didn't know how to do it. She didn't know how to get there. She had no plan. So she really, like, I think the celebrityism of Bonnie and Clyde, I think she adored. I think she loved being in the papers and seeing these vacation photos of her and Clyde, essentially. And she was like, I made it. I may not be famous for what I wanted to be famous for, but I'm famous.
Yeah.
And that's enough for me.
Yeah.
So Bonnie, I'm sure, was like, if there is a heaven, or if wherever she was, I'm sure she was like, damn right, I had 20,000 people at my funeral.
Right? Yeah, that was an accomplishment for her. That was an achievement she wanted.
Yep. Thousands upon thousands of flowers were sent. A lot of them were from other outlaws. Yeah, they were like, whoops, sorry, Bonnie. Like, that was awful. We really liked you.
Wow.
Everyone loved Bonnie. Everyone loved Bonnie.
Yeah.
So she got a bunch of flowers from outlaws. She got some from fans, these other, like, young, aspiring women who were like, I can't wait to meet my Clyde.
What?
But
I can't wait to meet my Clyde. Oh, my God. I mean, hashtag Romeo and Juliet vibes. Like, there's women that fall for this.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm sure, like, the actual, I think we were talking about the actual, like, information about how they died. I don't think that was probably ever properly released. It was probably just they died in a shootout.
Yeah.
And that was probably all that was said. People were like, oh, it's so romantic. They went out together.
Yeah.
And people ate that shit up.
Oh, 100%.
Which is why the largest noticeable donations of flowers were from newspapers.
Wow.
Because newspapers sold 500,000 newspapers alone from the news of their deaths.
Yeah, and so they were just, like, piling on, going, wow, look at all these flowers and everything. But they're the ones that bought the flowers. They did it just to write another article.
Yeah, but they're like, oh, we got all this money from writing this article about your death. Here you go. Here's some money back to you. Here's all these flowers. Thank you for giving us all these profits.
Yeah.
In the Depression. So
tragedy sells. It doesn't matter what time it is.
It does. And, you know, in truth, if you're a newspaper article, your agency's about to go under, and then suddenly there's this headline story, and you're the first one who can get that information out that Bonnie and Clyde are dead, that's going to save you.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to save you.
Oh, yeah.
And it really comes down to it was me or them, and I wasn't going to let it be them. I'm going to let it be me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bonnie was originally buried in Fishtrap Cemetery, but her body was moved in 1945 to Crown Hill Cemetery in Dallas. You can go visit her grave.
Wow.
Her grave marker reads, "As the flowers are all made sweeter by the sunshine and the dew, so this old world is made brighter by the lives of folks like you."
What a beautiful little saying to put on the grave of...
Yeah, that's really nice. I wonder if that's poetry she wrote. I didn't have a chance to check, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that she wrote.
Yeah, that is very nice.
Yeah. So Bonnie's niece is her last surviving relative and is actually actively campaigning right now to finally bring Bonnie and Clyde back together.
And to put their graves together?
Yeah, so they can be reburied together. Because right now both of their graves are a little bit of state of decay. So like it's kind of like, well, do we restore her grave or
do we move it?
Like, can I exhume her body and finally bury her and Clyde together?
You know, I mean, I understand both perspectives of it because, I mean, yeah, when your family member dies and you feel like this person is, you know, partly responsible for that and their demise, no, fuck you, I'm not letting you anywhere near this person. But also, it was her dying wish to be buried next to him. So who are you to kind of defy that wish? It was her wish. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel on that one.
It's a tough one, and I think a lot of personal feelings got in this decision. And of course, you know, Bonnie really, really loved Clyde, and I think, you know, say what you will about Bonnie and Clyde, you know, say that they killed a bunch of people, but I do think that they deserve, I think that, you know, if they want to be buried together, that was their choice that they made, that last choice that they made when they were alive. I think that's you can't just disregard someone's dying wish just because it doesn't make you feel right.
I do agree with that. I think, like you said, there is certain things that you honor in life. I mean, we give, you know, certain prisoners last meals and things like that. Someone's dying wish of what they want to happen to their own body is their choice.
Yeah, it's their decision. They're the ones that, you know, that's them. And they're people. And just because they're dead doesn't mean that they stop being people. And I think that's the lesson to learn. So, Clyde had a much more private cemetery because his family was very, very poor. They were poorer than Bonnie. He had a private funeral, and that was on May 25th at a sunset. His body was buried in Western Heights Cemetery in Dallas, right next to his brother Marvin. And he shares an epitaph with him, and it says, "Gone, but not forgotten."
Simple.
And like I said, both of their graves are in mass disrepair now. The stones are like severely weathered. I think one of them is sinking into the ground. So yeah, it's kind of like, you know, they were these huge celebrities, and we're still idolizing them to this day, and they're not being taken care of. They're there, and they're not being taken care of. So it does feel a bit weird.
That is strange.
Yeah. So weirdly enough, American National Company of Gavelton paid Bonnie and Clyde's life insurance. Yeah, their families got a payout.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know you got one when you were in a police shootout.
Policies have changed now, but back then, because it wasn't suicide and it wasn't like they were killed committing a crime, they were just killed by the police.
Yeah.
So technically it was an accident. So by all means, like, they were fully entitled to pay out this release. So the policies have changed now. Payouts can be revoked if deaths are caused by a criminal act by the insured. So if their death is a direct consequence of a criminal act that they performed, the company doesn't have to pay out, but that wasn't a law before.
Interesting.
So I bet you're asking, how about that reward money that they were promised?
Yeah, that $3K, that sweet $3K.
Well, at the point that when Bonnie and Clyde were killed, that had gone up a little bit. The 6 men in the posse were promised quite a prize from all states. So not only was it that original $2,000 from Ferguson in Texas, like, it had been ramping up every day that they were out. More and more money from various organizations were just piling money onto this reward.
Wow.
And the 6 men in the posse were promised quite the prize for killing them. They were like this could, like, they could retire on this money.
Yeah.
Hinton said with all of the bounties and rewards out there, they were looking at $26,000 each.
Wow. And back then, oh my God. Yeah. That's like $500,000.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when it came time to collect, most of the organizations who'd promised the little pretty penny were like, ooh, crazy. I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think you guys were going to do it. Actually promised money to that other guy, so... Ooh, super awkward. Don't have any money.
But good job, though.
Yeah, great job killing Bonnie and Clyde, but whoops, don't have any money for you.
Wow.
So in the end, each member of the posse was paid about $200.
That's unforgivable.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But because they never got their bounty, and I guess everyone was feeling a little bad for them. They're like, they killed Bonnie and Clyde. Like, I feel like we should give them something. Instead, the posse was told that they could take whatever they wanted from the confiscated items in Bonnie and Clyde's death car.
I'm sure.
Yeah, they could have anything they wanted from the death car.
Okay. So?
Yeah. Hammer took one look at the guns and was like, yoink, those are mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, suddenly get a couple of BARs. I'm sure he was like, I'm done, I'm happy.
Yeah.
He also took some fishing tackle, which I thought was kind of funny.
I'm surprised they had any.
He's going to retire on his $200. He's going to go fish.
Good for him.
Sure. In July of that year, Clyde's mother, Kumi, wrote Hammer a letter and was like, hey, can I have my son's guns back? Like, they're not yours. They're my guns.
Oh.
They belong to our family. And her argument was that Clyde was never tried in a court of law, so was never found guilty. So,
those
by
are
law,
just his
they couldn't...
possessions.
Yeah, by law, you can't just take someone's possessions.
Wow.
And Hammer never responded to that. Just kept the guns.
Well...
Yeah. Alcorn found Clyde's saxophone, and he was like, I'll take that. I like saxophones. I'll learn to play.
Sure.
But I'm sure he heard what happened with Hammer, and he was like, actually, no, I'm going to give that saxophone back to the Barrow family. Like, here, have this saxophone. So he gave that back.
Okay.
They also divvied up Bonnie's clothes, which I'm like, that's a choice.
Yeah.
Parker family asked for those back, and they were refused.
Oh, that they straight up were like, yeah, no.
Yeah, they were like, we're keeping Bonnie's clothes. She dressed real nice.
Yeah. Oh, these are worth a lot of money.
And they sold them as souvenirs.
Yeah.
They sold all of Bonnie's clothes as souvenirs.
I'm sure, just because they're Bonnie's clothes.
Yeah. There was also rumors that there was a suitcase of cash in the car that was taken. And Jordan used it to buy a barn and land in Arcadia. There is no evidence of the suitcase, but the barn purchase and the land purchase are real. So Jordan did buy land right after this.
With some unknown money.
But there's no evidence of money. So do with that what you will. So he might have just, he might have spent that $200. Like, I got $200. I'm going to buy a barn. Or there was, and it was very like, we can keep it, but just don't say anything. So, criminal law was also revolutionized after this. Bank robbery and kidnappings were made federal offenses because they weren't that before.
Yep.
It also encouraged coordination with local authority by the FBI. So now the FBI could be like, hey, small town police forces that have no training, we're going to bring you guys in and we're going to help you. So now all of these other little cities are talking to each other. It's not just like I have to get onto a payphone and call.
Yeah.
Now we all have we have ways of communicating. They also added two-way radios in police cars because that wasn't a thing before. So now people can radio, but like, hey, I've been kidnapped by Bonnie and Clyde. Please send help.
Yeah. Wow.
So this made robbery and murder very difficult to commit. because now people are like, hey, I can just radio, if you're going to do the state line jurisdiction hop, I can just call the next state over and be like, hey, they're on this road, go get them.
Yep. Wow, so they made some big changes.
They did. It also led to a large string of other outlaws getting killed and arrested, but those are for other episodes. There's so many of them. So, death car. Let's talk about the death car.
Yeah.
It was a stolen car.
Of course.
Surprise, surprise. It was a brand new 1934 Ford V8 four-door deluxe sedan. And it had been bought earlier in the year by Mr. and Mrs. Warren, who left it in their garage in Topeka, Kansas.
Oh, gosh. And did they want their car back?
Well, Clyde saw it. He was like, yes, please. And they were like, that's our car. That's my car.
Yeah.
I will say it here now. Clyde had a huge thing for Ford V8s. I think I mentioned this earlier. He loved the Ford V8 cars because they were fast, and he loved fast cars. But he loved them so much that he actually wrote a letter to Mr. Ford himself in April 1934, right before he was killed, about how much he liked the cars.
Wow.
I have the letter.
What? I like that during this whole thing, he's like running on the lam, and he's just like, you know what, I would really love to show my appreciation for this guy who has made my getaway car driving so just smooth and gracious.
Really much, yeah. Ford also used this letter later to sell more Fords, so, capitalism, woohoo. So here's the letter. Well, I still have got breath in my lungs. I will tell you what a dandy car you make. I have drove Fords exclusively when I could get away with one. For sustained speed and freedom from trouble, the Ford has got every other car skinned. And even my business hasn't been strictly legal. It doesn't hurt anything to tell you what a fine car you got in the V8.
Oh my god.
So there you go.
Wow.
Well, Officer Jordan, the one who bought the barn with the suspicious money, he tried to call dibs on the car itself. So, when everything was being divvied up, he's like, I want the car. It's a Ford V8. I can just patch those bullet holes up, no problem.
Yeah.
Well, Mrs. Warren was like, I don't think so. That's my car. And Jordan was like, I'm so sorry, ma'am. And he returned the car.
Well?
He returned it still covered in blood and body tissue.
Oh. He's like, yeah, here you go.
You want this car? Here you go, ma'am. And she was like, oh, great. Now I have to clean this.
Yeah. I'm sure he would have cleaned it if it was his, but no.
Yeah. The car still worked.
What?
It still ran, despite being riddled with over 112 bullet holes. Ruth Warren drove the car from Arcadia to Shreveport and then trucked it back to Topeka in Kansas.
Oh my god. Yeah, the Ford should be proud of that one.
Yeah, it's like, you can shoot it 112 times and it'll still run just fine.
Oh my god.
So, now if you have a bullet-riddled, bloody new car, what do you do?
I've never been faced with this predicament, so I honestly don't have a good answer for this one. What do? You
turn it into a traveling attraction, of course.
Oh!
You take it on the road and you show people the death car that Bonnie and Clyde were murdered in.
For sure. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, it's a great way to make a buck.
It sure is.
It was displayed at fairs, it was displayed at markets, it was taken to amusement parks, it was even displayed at a Nevada racetrack, and you could pay $1 to sit in it.
Okay.
You could sit in the death car.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
So, 1988, a casino named Prim Valley Resort and Casino near Las Vegas bought the car for $250,000.
Wow.
The car is still on display. You can go to this hotel and you can see the death car with all of its bullet holes and the shirt that Clyde was wearing when he was killed. They are presented next to each other in this casino.
Wow.
You can go there. It's in Prim, Nevada, along Interstate 15. So if you live there, go see Bonnie and Clyde's death car.
I'm not too far. I might go.
Yeah, there you go. Go see the death car.
Wow.
I also found out the original prices of the cars, so I can kind of tell you how much it was all paid for.
Yeah.
So the original price of a Ford V8 was $575 in 1934.
Holy crap.
That's $5,026 in 1988 when it was bought by the casino. Mm-hmm. It's worth $12,114 in today's money. That would be what it was worth. So it was bought for $250,000 in 1998, which is $604,000 today.
Jesus, holy crap.
All right.
That is an expensive car.
It really is. I mean, it's all part of the Bonnie and Clyde image.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, so let's talk about the gang. We're here. Let's talk about them.
And I need to know what happened to Blanche. Okay.
Okay. So yes, let's talk about the remaining gang members and people in close proximity. So we'll kind of go a little bit in order.
I want to know Blanche.
We'll get there. So let's start with Roy Thornton.
Sure.
Our lovely Erdington connection. So, at the time of Bonnie and Clyde's death, Roy Thornton was in prison. Since he was put in prison and Bonnie and Clyde split up, he was still in prison.
Oh, okay.
In 1933, he had 2 sentences, a 5-year one for robbery and 50 years for armed robbery and kidnapping.
Wow.
Yeah. Without parole, I might add. He was looking at about a release date in 1983. It was kind of when they were like, you'll probably get out here unless we pardon you earlier because we're overcrowded, and that's the thing we do.
Yeah.
But Roy Thornton was like, I don't want to wait to be pardoned, and I don't want to wait until 1983. So, a week after being put away, he successfully escaped from Ellis County Jail in Waxahachie, but he was recaptured almost immediately.
Oh.
He then attempted to escape again in 1934, but this one was far more disastrous. During the jailbreak, guards opened fire on the escapees and injured a bunch of them.
Oh, no.
Roy was not injured, though, but
wow.
It was just a bit of a massacre.
Yeah.
So the press claimed that he was obsessed with Bonnie, and that was the motivation for the jailbreak. He's like, she's with the wrong man. I'm her husband. I must return to her.
I was literally just about to ask, was he aware of her escapade? Like, he's in jail as her actual husband, and she's just gallivanting, being famously in love with another man. Like, that's gotta not make him feel good.
As far as I'm aware, he was fine with it. He was like, yeah, we split up. She can do what she wants. We just didn't get a divorce, but we're separated. Like, she's living her best life. I'm living my almost best life in prison.
Yeah.
And I think this was also a common thing, with Mary O'Dare and Ray Hamilton later. She was still married to a guy, Gene O'Dare, in prison. And she was just out, and that was just a thing that she did. She was allowed to date. I think that was kind of like their rule, is if you were in prison and you were with your gal, she could just go off. And I think that was something Clyde was afraid of, was when he was in prison, he was afraid that Bonnie would do the same thing. So I think there's a bit of that, but as far as I'm aware, he was like,
no.
She's living her best life. She's happy with Clyde. Good for her.
Okay.
But she'll always have that tattoo of my name on her thigh.
Yeah, all right.
So, in 1934, when he heard of Bonnie's passing, he was quoted in a United Press news article saying that he was glad that Bonnie and Clyde went out the way they did. Yeah, he said it was much better than getting caught, which I think is kind of the mentality of the world. It's like you either died in a shootout or you were caught and put in the electric chair.
Yeah.
So...
the alternative, like you said, just...
Yeah, so he was happy they went out the way they did.
Yeah, okay.
His final escape attempt was on October 3rd, 1937. Over a dozen inmates attempted to get out, and during the escape, Roy Thornton was shot to death by guards.
Oh.
He was buried in Hutchings Alston Hayden Family Cemetery in Weldon, Texas. 1937, so 3 years after Bonnie. So let's go to Ralph Fultz. If you remember Ralph Fultz, he was one of the early boys.
Yeah. What's he been up to?
Yeah, he's just been chilling. He's just there. No. So he was captured in March 1932, and he was sentenced to 10 years in May. He was then pardoned by Ma Ferguson in 1935, January 10.
Okay.
So she was like, yeah, I guess you ran with the Barrow Gang, but they're dead now, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So Fultz then reunited with his old buddy Ray Hamilton. And they had a brief stint of robberies from January to March.
Okay.
On March 19, 1934, Hamilton and Fultz gave an interview to the Houston Journalist talking about treatment inside of the Texas penal system. Then right after the interview, the two robbed a grocery store in San Antonio.
Perfect.
They then headed to Mississippi, but they stopped in Louisiana to visit the site where Bonnie and Clyde were killed.
Ah.
They then robbed a bank in Mississippi.
Okay. So in honor of Bonnie and Clyde. They were just like...
In honor of... They're like, this is what they would have wanted. Yeah, it's like instead of pour one out for the boys, it's rob a bank for the boys.
Rob a bank for the homies.
Yes.
Man.
So after this robbery, Ray and Ralph were separated, and Ralph headed to Kentucky, and Ray headed back to Texas.
Okay.
Ralph then got word that Ray had been arrested at Fort Worth, and immediately turned around with plans to save his partner from the electric chair, but he did not succeed.
Oh.
He was captured by police on April 17th and was sentenced to 50 years at the Parchment Prison Farm, which is not Eastham, but is still pretty bad.
Yeah.
He was put in solitary for a brief stint before being pardoned in 1944. Then he became a security guard in an orphanage.
Oh. Because they don't do background checks there.
I guess they were like, he's reformed, he's pardoned, he's clear slate, he's did his time.
Sure.
It was like this. It was like, we're not going to judge you just because you ran with the Barrow Gang and you were sentenced to 50 years. You didn't kill anyone. He didn't kill anyone.
Sure.
He converted to Christianity and then frequently spoke to the children about the evils of a life of crime.
Okay, I mean, I guess if he actually was reformed, then good. I guess he was in the right place then.
Yeah, I think he was tired of prison. I think he was tired of that life. And now in the 40s, the Great Depression's over. There's no glamour to being an outlaw anymore. It's not you're sticking it to the man. You're just being a petty theft. Like, it's just, you're just being a criminal.
Yeah.
So I think when he was released in 44 and he saw that times were changing, he was like, all right, well, I either become a security guard in an orphanage or I go to war. And I was like, I think which one was more favorable?
Yeah.
So,
wow. Interesting. Well, I'm actually glad with this shitty system that they had in place, actually having someone come out the other side of it reformed and wanting to do better. I'm proud of him.
Yeah, good for Fultz.
Yeah.
In 1960, he helped create a TV show called Confession. And the show was a discussion between Fultz, representatives of the Texas State Board of Pardons and Paroles, representatives of the state prison system, former inmates, business people, and attorneys about life back in the outlaw days, and the importance about getting second chances.
Wow, okay, so he really went on to drive that point home of like, yeah, you know what, this is really important, this is true to my heart, and I'm gonna speak my truth.
Yeah.
I love that for him.
And I'm sure them having it like, this was a former member of the Barrow Gang, like how cool, and he's reformed, and he's like, yeah, it was a time.
Yeah, wow, that is shocking to say the least.
Yeah. So Fultz died on March 16, 1993 at the age of 82.
Wow,
so he lived a long life, and I think because he left the Barrow Gang when he did, I think it saved him. I think him getting arrested with Bonnie back in the day, that really saved him. That 10 years was really what he needed.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So let's talk about Ray Hamilton and Joe Palmer. Speaking of them, these two boys, they're kind of lumped together because pretty much as soon as they left the Barrow Gang together, they were pretty much inseparable.
Okay.
So if you remember, Ray Hamilton had a very hot-cold relationship with the Barrow Gang. He was constantly in, then he was in vacation in Michigan, then he was back in, and then he was doing this, and then he was back in, and then he was fighting. So, he and Clyde fought mercilessly, but Ray also never said that they weren't enemies. They were equals, and they disagreed.
Two alpha dogs,
Yeah, and unfortunately, when you're doing something that's so high risk, you need to be in sync. Like, someone needs to be in charge.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they were equal, so it just wasn't working. Ray left the gang after several disputes, mostly about the cut for his girlfriend, Mary O'Dare. After the last split with the gang, he went on a brief run with Joe Palmer. But Ray and Joe were captured on April 25th, 1934, before Bonnie and Clyde were killed.
Oh, wow.
They were sent to the Death House in Huntsville, which was another Huntsville prison.
Oh, okay.
Which was essentially, it was a prison famous for its death row.
Oh.
Yeah, and they were put on death row for the death of the prison guard during the prison use because they couldn't figure out if it was Palmer or Hamilton who killed that guard.
So they just
you're both of them. Like, both of you are going down for this. Unless one of you confesses, you're both going down. They were like, we neither of us did it.
Wow.
Yeah. So because they couldn't figure out which of the two killed the guard, they decided to charge both. Ray and Joe successfully escaped from the death house.
Oh.
And I believe that they were the first ever on death row to escape the death house.
Wow, okay.
They went on the run with Ralph Fultz for a brief stint, if you remember. Ralph Fultz, they did that interview and then they did the thing.
Yeah.
They robbed the banks. They poured one out for the homies. They were captured in Fort Worth. But this time the authorities were sick of them. They were just like, you guys need to stop. So they were sentenced to the electric chair on May 10th, 1935. Ray's last words were, well, goodbye all.
All right.
And Joe Palmer followed shortly after.
God, what a way to go.
Yeah. So let's talk about WD.
Oh, gosh, yeah, WD. I know he got out at a good time, too.
Yeah, he got very, very lucky. So when we last left WD, he was arrested on November 16, 1933. He was picked up by Bob Alcorn, one of the members of the posse, and a guy called Ed Castor, and he was detained without incident. I'm pretty sure he saw them coming, and he was like, just take me away. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was basically he was ratted out by an acquaintance. He was quick to tell the officers that he was a minor and also an unwilling member of the gang. He's like, I'm not 18 yet. They kidnapped me. They forced me to be in their gang. I'm an unpaid intern. Like, cut me some slack.
Yeah.
And he spun this tale where he was forced to ride at gunpoint. At night, he was chained to trees and bumpers of the cars at night. if this was a tale, he was very smart because he really painted himself as this sort of like reluctant victim. Yeah, he was the longest standing victim of the Barrow Gang. And it was a tale. But if it wasn't a tale, this was hell, and this is what he was living. And of course, he escaped twice.
I mean, it is kind of crazy, like you said, that like. I mean, stranger things have happened, especially with male abuse cases like that, where like the psychological component comes in, and if Bonnie has any sort of a hold on him, and he finally gets in a car alone, and he's like, "This is my shot," and then he gets away. Like that's scary for him. Yeah,
and I'm sure Bonnie and Clyde were probably definitely kind of reflecting a little bit of that family dynamic onto WD. He was so young, and he didn't know how to stand up to them. And it is actually the truth of it is Bonnie and Clyde couldn't have kids. Bonnie was infertile, so they could never have kids.
So she probably was a little bit more maternal in that way automatically just because of that.
Yeah. So, and it's that sort of thing where it's like, this is a small child. It's a minor. We've taken him from Dallas. He's associated with our families. Let's take care of him. But then maybe they smothered him, or maybe they did, like they were forcing this fantasy on him, if it is true, but we don't know. We just don't know the truth.
Yeah.
It's also speculated that Clyde helped WD spin this tale in case he was arrested, because of course he told Bonnie to do the doe-eyed thing whenever she got arrested. This might have been WD's doe-eye, where it's like, if you ever get captured, this is what you tell people, and you just tell them and tell them and tell them until they believe you.
Wow, okay.
So it really could be anything. It could have been the truth, it could have been a tale, and it could have been written by Clyde. We don't know. We just don't know.
I just don't know.
We just don't know. Man. So law enforcement hoped that they could use WD as a pawn to capture Clyde, because they're like, Clyde clearly loves you.
Yeah.
He came to get you. Like, he clearly loves you. And they were really hoping that Clyde would pull a jailbreak to get WD out. And Clyde did pull a jailbreak, he just didn't go for WD.
Yeah.
So he got a different prison, and they were basically, the law enforcement were like, well, shoot. Meh. WD later said he was quite happy to stay behind bars. He's like, I don't want to be out there with them, they're crazy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. WD took a deal to be tried as an accessory to the murder of Deputy Davis, which would protect him from the wrath of Arkansas for the murder of Marshall Humphrey.
Okay.
So you remember the Marshall Humphrey's the guy on the freeway where they crashed the cars and then they stole his gun twice?
Yes.
And that was WD and Buck.
Okay.
But if WD was tried as an accessory to Malcolm Davis, which was the guy in the house but behind the door that got hit with the shotgun.
Yeah.
Yes. If he took that one instead, they couldn't try him for Marshall Humphrey. So basically he was getting out of a murder and he was just an accomplice.
Ah, okay.
Also, apparently, Arkansas prisons were worse than Texas prisons, so he was like, I ain't going to Arkansas.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So WD was still in Dallas County Jail on the day that Bonnie and Clyde were killed. People basically crowded into the prison to tell him the news. They were like, hey, WD, you're never going to believe it. Your ma and pa essentially just got murdered.
Yeah.
And WD responded, I admit that I'm relieved, and shook his head.
Yeah, maybe.
So I think
maybe he really didn't have it as good as, it seemed throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, and we don't know, but maybe this is part of the tale. Maybe it's not. Maybe he really just didn't want to be in the Barrow Gang, but he didn't know how to not be in the Barrow Gang.
Yeah.
And maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. We just don't know.
You just don't know.
So, he was put on trial that October, where all the witnesses recommended against the death penalty. Like, don't kill the kid. He's just turned 18. Like, cut the kid some slack. So he was convicted for murder without malice, which means, it's essentially like manslaughter. Like, he killed him, but there was no intent behind it. It was literally like, I kill him or he kills me.
Yeah.
And the district attorney and the prosecuting attorney were like, we'll go easy on the kid and you give him a sentence of 99 years.
Oh, okay.
It's not life. It's 99 years.
Yeah, sure.
On October 12th, he was sentenced for 15, so they compromised.
Okay.
So he got 15 years in prison. The following February, he was convicted of harboring Bonnie and Clyde during their run and received an additional 2 years. So they started trying all of their known associates, basically saying, you harbor Bonnie and Clyde, who's these notorious murderers, you get an extra 2 years on any of your prison sentences.
Yeah.
After 6 years in the Huntsville Penitentiary, the same death house that Ray and Joe were put in, he was paroled.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. So, like Clyde, WD tried to join the army afterwards, but he was turned away because he was full of bullets.
WD.
They were like, you are literally a walking bullet casing. And he was like, ooh, yeah, I did get shot a couple of times.
Yeah, but it makes it harder for other bullets to go in.
Yeah, like, don't worry, like, it's basically bulletproofing at this point. Like, just let me go.
God.
But they were like, sorry, no can do.
No.
So, kind of followed Clyde's footsteps a little bit there. And he was probably about the same age as well.
Yeah, that is kind of ironic.
Yeah, so he lived the rest of his life in Houston. He did get married, but his wife died in the mid-60s. He then became addicted to pain-killing drugs.
Oh.
The Bonnie and Clyde film came out in 1967, which WD watched.
And how did he feel about that?
So he said that the film made the life look very glamorous when it actually was a bit closer to hell. Because it was just nonstop, it was hard, it wasn't, living luxuriously, it was just hard.
Yeah.
His character in the movie is actually a mix of him and Henry Methvin. So they kind of blurred the two characters together. They put the two interns together for that character. So they skewed that a little bit.
Gotcha.
So
I'm sure he didn't love that.
no, I'm sure he was like, well, he's also like, I never met this Methvin kid. And if he's also a kidnapped kid, like...
Yeah.
But yeah, also, I'm sure it also made him feel like... Because Methvin was considered like the rat of the Barrow Gang.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, like, people plastering those two images together of WD and Methvin, he was probably like, I ain't no rat. I didn't rat them out.
Yeah.
So, in the early morning hours of August 20, 1974, WD accompanied acquaintance to, is either a friend or a troubled boyfriend to find a bed so that she could go home.
Yeah.
An altercation ensued, and at 3:55 a.m., the boyfriend or friend shot WD 3 times with a shotgun.
Oh my gosh.
He was 58 years old.
That's so sad.
The person said that he was a nice person when sober, but W.D. Jones had a reputation that they were afraid of, and they weren't going to take any chances.
Interesting.
Yeah, he passed away that morning. He was buried at Brookside Memorial Park in Houston. And that's W.D.
Wow.
So, lived a pretty long time, and he died in a lover's quarrel or a friend's quarrel.
Yeah. Wow.
So, let's talk about Henry and Ivan, speaking of. So, Henry Ivan Methvin, the father-son duo attributed to the death of Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
I can only presume that when Henry got separated from Bonnie and Clyde on the road, he was immediately apprehended by the law, because I could not find how he was arrested afterwards, so I'm pretty sure his dad was just like, here you go.
Wow.
But this was, of course, his father made the deal with the police in exchange for his son's life. And people were really quick to turn on the Methvins as traitors.
Wow.
They were like, how dare you rat out Bonnie and Clyde and get them killed?
It's wild that people still were like, wow, these guys were monsters, fuck these guys, like, but also, like, how dare you betray them?
Yeah. So, Henry, like, the kudos to Louisiana and Texas, they completely upholded their side of the bargain. Henry was not tried for the Grapevine murders, and he was not prosecuted in Texas, so that deal was fully honored, so...
Yeah.
Kudos to the posse, and kudos to those. Did not save him from prosecution in Oklahoma, however, for the murder of Constable Campbell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was another cop who was killed.
Yeah.
So
I remember
so he was shipped off to Oklahoma to await trial. So he and another prisoner were like, not feeling this prison business. It's not doing it for me. Mm-hmm. So they came up with this plan to overpower their jailer, who was a First Nations man named Tom Armstrong. And then they were going to shank him with a concealed pocket knife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Armstrong was like, what the fuck, guys? And immediately overpowered them, stopping the escape. He was like, don't play silly buggers with me. Fuck you.
Yeah. And that was... Henry.
Yeah. So,
after all the work your dad did, like, come on.
I know,
stood
right?
there handcuffed to the tree for you to go here and try to shank a person.
Henry did himself no fucking favors, I'm gonna be honest with you. Henry, he made a lot of choices, and his dad did his best, but it didn't go well.
That's sad.
So Henry stood trial and was found guilty for Campbell's murder, and he was sentenced to death on December 20th, 1935.
Wow.
The sentence was later commuted to just life in prison.
Okay.
So he's a lifer now. He was later paroled on March 20, 1942.
Oh, okay.
And then he was jailed again in November 1945 for getting into a fight and carrying a shotgun.
Sure.
He was then jailed again for attempting robbery and drunk driving near Shreveport, Louisiana, 11 months later.
Oh, Henry.
So, well, oh, Henry. According to reports, on April 19, 1948, Henry was intoxicated while attempting to cross a railroad track.
Oh, God.
He was killed by an oncoming train.
Wow. What a way to go.
There's also speculation that his death was revenge for Bonnie and Clyde. It wasn't just him being intoxicated trying to cross this track. And there's speculation that he was either pinned down on the tracks or placed there while unconscious.
Wow. Who would have enacted that revenge?
Yeah. No evidence of foul play was ever brought forward.
Wow.
So it's kind of just, he was on the tracks, the train came.
That is a very interesting way to go.
Yeah, it's a rough one. Like, I can't, like, death by train, like, I would not choose that.
No, that's a real bad one.
That's a real bad one. 16 months earlier, before Henry was killed by a train, his father, Ivan, was on the way back from the hospital after visiting Henry. So Henry was in the hospital probably after a drunk brawl with a shotgun.
Yeah.
He was in the hospital, so his father went to visit him. On the way out of the hospital, heading back home, Ivan was killed by a hit-and-run driver.
Oh, Ivan.
This is also speculated to not just be a coincidence and was a targeted hit-and-run. So
that's crazy.
The Methvin men did not get the easy thing. Ivan technically did outlive his son, which I guess was his wish at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, his son outlived him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just...
What a way to go.
Yeah. They did not have the best time.
No.
So that's the Methvins. So finally, the one you've been waiting for. Let's talk about Blanche Barrow.
Blanche, yes. Tell me about Blanche, the widow.
So, Blanche was arguably the least violent member of the gang.
Yeah, she didn't want to be there.
She didn't want to be there. She only joined because she wanted to be with her husband, and her husband was only there because they were leaving a vacation and things went tits up.
God.
So she was permanently blinded in her left eye from the glass attack, and she lost most of her vision in her right eye, but she could still kind of see shapes and things.
Okay.
Yeah. She was taken into custody after the Red Crown Dexfield shootouts on the charge of assault with intent to kill.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how they held her.
Wow.
Buck was actually her second husband, and she'd been previously married to an older man at the behest of her mother.
Oh.
So there you go.
Blanche.
So I don't think anyone was really judging Bonnie on being married before. I think this was just a thing at the time where, you know, the first one's always like, it can be
You just got to get it out of the way, basically. You just got to marry him, get it out of the way so you can get to the second husband.
Yes, but she did officially divorce the first one, and she married Buck successfully. So they were married.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Wow.
When she was brought in, there was a photographer present at the Dexfield thing where, you know, and they're kind of distressing photos, but you can see, like, Buck's on the ground, you know, he's been shot in the back. And Blanche is blind, so she can't see anything, so she's just being, like, hauled off by two officers or two members of the posse. And she saw the photographer in her one kind of good eye. She saw him. She thought it was a gun. So she thought, well, this photographer was taking her picture. She thought that she was being shot at. She had no idea.
Yeah.
So she had no idea where Buck was. She thought she was being shot at. She was just distressed.
That's so sad.
So she was convicted of assault with intent to kill.
Yeah.
And sentenced to 10 years in prison, but was paroled on good behavior.
Because she was a good cookie, it sounds like.
She was a good cookie, and I think she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and this assault with intent to kill, she was probably just flailing. She had no idea what was happening. She was blind.
Yeah, and in pain. And she's glass in her eyes.
Yeah, she's in pain. She's distressed. She's looking for her husband. She has no idea where her husband is. Mm-hmm. And in truth, I don't know if she ever got to see Buck.
That's so sad.
I don't know if she was in prison. I don't know if they let her go see him in the hospital. I don't know if she was permitted to attend his funeral. I couldn't find anything on it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she's blind now. She didn't see what happened to Buck, quite literally. She hears the news that Buck's passed away. I don't know if she got to see him. It was just and that was the end.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So after she was paroled, she returned to Dallas and became her father's caregiver.
Okay.
And then she found love again.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so she met and married a man named Eddie Frazier. And it said that she worked as a cab driver, and I was like, she's blind?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I believe this. Maybe he was a cab driver, but it just said worked as a cab driver, so I assumed it was talking about her.
Yeah.
But it could have been, maybe he was a cab driver, but if Blanche was a cab driver, I would not want her to be my cab driver.
No. I mean, more power to her, but no thanks.
Yeah. She was also became a beautician, which is basically a hairdresser.
Again, very impressive for a blind person.
Yeah, I mean, she's only mostly blind, so I'm sure she fucking killed it, and I'm sure like that was a privilege of being the client of Blanche Barrow essentially, but at that point she was Blanche Frazier.
Yeah,
and she completed the terms of her parole right after that. So
good for her. She turned her life around too.
She really did. She and Eddie, kind of like Bonnie, they weren't able to have children. Different set of circumstances, but yeah, Blanche couldn't have kids, so in 1965 they adopted a 12-year-old boy named Ricky.
Aww. Ricky.
Her relationship with her son became strained as they got older, though.
Oh.
So she had tough relations with her son.
Well.
Eddie Frazier unfortunately died of cancer in 1969.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's Blanche is on her own again.
Yeah.
And she did not remarry. Then the director, Warren Beatty, approached her to purchase the rights to use her name in the Bonnie and Clyde film.
Oh, wow.
Which she was like, yes, absolutely, that sounds great.
Yeah, please give me all the money.
And she and Warren Beatty became friends.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were friends. She saw the movie, which I think is kind of funny. She's I guess maybe her eyesight to a degree was fixed in the one eye that she wasn't permanently blinded in. I think they did something, but she did see the movie.
Okay.
And she hated what they did with her character.
Oh.
She hated it.
She's like, this was a horrible portrayal of me. What have you done?
Well, it's because, like W.D. and Henry, they got mixed as the same character. Her character and Mary O'Dare.
And Mary was mixed. A bitch. No one liked Mary. So
no
she's
one
like,
liked
wow.
Mary. And Ray brought Mary in to be the new Blanche, and basically in the movie, Mary and Blanche were the same character. And Blanche was like, what the fuck? You made me Mary?
Wow. I gave you my name and you made me Mary. How could you? How could you?
She hated the Bonnie and Clyde film in 1967 because she didn't like Mary O'Dare, and she was like, how dare you associate me with that woman?
Yeah.
She did stay friends with Beatty after those, so...
She's happy she got her money.
Yeah, I guess. She said, oh, take the money and run.
Yeah.
So, Blanche died of lung cancer in 1988. She was 77, and she was survived by her son and her mother, who was 93.
Wow.
Yeah. She was buried in Dallas Grove Hill Memorial Park as Blanche B. Frazier. Wow. And she also has a memoir, if you want to check it out. It's called My Life with Bonnie and Clyde, published 2004.
Wow.
And that's the story of Bonnie and Clyde and the gang and what happened after. That's it.
Wow.
Case closed. We did it.
Case closed, ma'am.
Oh, man.
You look actually physically relieved right now.
I am so... I think that it just... Like, it hit me. And I was like, I did it. Yeah. Bonnie and Clyde is done. Whoa.
Oh, my God.
It just escaped into the ether. And now the only thing I have left to do is edit this episode. And then I'm done.
Yes. Truly. I was not expecting this giant escapade of crime and love and... Just, I mean, we laughed, we cried, everything in between for this entire story. It was a doozy. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
It was a true 3-parter. And this almost became a 4-parter for a hot second there. And I got really nervous. But no, we managed to get it into 3 parts. And thank you all for coming on this journey. If you listen to all 3 parts, you're like, wow.
You're beautiful, you're wonderful.
You're beautiful, you're perfect, you're beautiful.
You look like Linda Evangelista.
You look like Linda Evangelista.
Did I say it right? I feel like I didn't say it right.
You sure did. Oh, dear.
No, but that was truly just an epic journey. I never would have assumed that it ended this way. I wouldn't have assumed they got caught as much as they did, that they fumbled as much as they did.
Yeah.
It was unexpected, to say the least.
Yeah, I think I've learned that I really enjoy just kind of lifting the veil a little bit with Ouija boards, and now with Bonnie and Clyde, just being like, look, it's different.
Yeah, no, it completely is.
Yeah, and it's history that is well known, but it's not well known. Like, everyone knows Bonnie and Clyde, but nobody knows Bonnie and Clyde.
No.
And going into this journey with the intent to just tell you, and not knowing what you knew, and not being able to tell you that this is what I was doing, I think this was a really fun challenge. I don't think I'm going to repeat this part 3 adventure anytime soon. We'll save the next one for season 2.
Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe I've recharged my batteries after whatever my next case is. But like, whew, this was a lot, and I'm glad that I could do it, and I hope I did it justice, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And that's it. That's the story. That's the Ballad of Bonnie and Clyde.
The Ballad of Bonnie and Clyde. I feel like I learned so much, and it is such a good addition to Spookery, because it is honestly a way spookier tale than the media gives it credit for. I mean, there is a lot of crazy shit that happens throughout this that, like, really you're like left going, what the fuck?
Yeah. And it's a bit of a what the fuck case. It's a bit of a murder. It's a bit of,
there's survivors. There's,
yeah.
I mean, their names in general. I mean, we have a category for I can't think of it, but people who
spooky ambassadors.
Spooky ambassadors, and this almost fits into that because of just their name itself.
Yeah, and it really was. It was, and this was your fault. No, I'm kidding. But this was you going after I got this category, and I was a little like, I don't have anything prepared for this, and you just went on to a heist, and I was like, well, what's a famous heist that I know off the top of my head?
Yeah.
And then I looked through that movie list. I think you also suggested the movie list.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I know Bonnie and Clyde, but I don't know Bonnie and Clyde. That'll be fun. And I'm sure, like, it was like 2 months, and they robbed a bank, and then they died in a blaze of glory, and it wasn't that.
Yeah.
And the more I dug, it was like, what is this?
Yeah.
What have I found?
And you have to, like you said, it feels like your obligation to share that and lift the veil for more people, because I think that is something, that's a story that needs to be known. Like, we know of Bonnie and Clyde, but we don't know of Bonnie and Clyde, and I think we should.
Yeah. So, thank you for coming with me, ma'am. I thank you for sitting with me for 3 consecutive recordings to get through this. Man, but thank you guys for listening. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. This was my theft and fraud submission to the Spookery. It is done. I can sleep.
And not just that,
rest.
but you can spin the wheel for your new category. Are you ready?
No, I can. Yes, I'm going to spin the wheel.
Let's see what you get. I'm so excited for you.
Oh, please, Spookery wheel, be kind to me.
Be kind of the Spookery spirits, wheel. Please.
Spookery spirits, please, give me something gentle. Give me something gentle on the soul.
Yes.
I'm doing a little dance. Please, Spookery wheel, please.
We're doing the Spookery spirit dance to get them happy with us. Please. Oh, Spookery spirits.
Spookery spirits, please. All right, let us spin this wheel. Please, Spookery spirits, don't do that.
Wheel.
There we go. I'm so nervous.
I'm excited and nervous for you. This could be bad. What did you get? What's your face? I can't read it. This isn't good.
My category is mass murders. You said it! You said this one! You're like, I bet you're gonna get a mass murder.
I did. I said I felt like you were gonna get mass murder, but you needed like a good axe murder or something.
Well, see, axe murderers do fall in the mass murder category because it's just a large capacity of people killed at one time. So I could do a nice. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna keep this one. I'm gonna keep. Not that I have any choice, but I'm keeping mass murder. I'm committing to mass murder. I'm gonna do. I know which one I'm gonna do for this. I'm gonna do a nice, silly, soft, gentle mass murder.
I love it. I can't wait for this beautifully gentle mass murder for you to take us on another trip.
Yeah, so we're going straight into the mass murder. Oh, okay. I feel like I've like lost a part of my soul. I feel like a weight has been lifted. Something flew out of me when I said this was the story of Bonnie and Clyde, and I just went, whoa!
You just like released your firstborn child. I mean, think of the time and love and effort you put into this episode. This 3-part episode, and it's gone now. It turned 18, and it just walked out your door. It is.
Yeah, time flies. Time flies. I was nursing this baby, possible 2-parter Bonnie and Clyde, and I was like, nothing big happens, right? They rob like one bank, and then they're good. And then 18 years later, I'm like, I have to pay so much college loan. I have to pay off college loans. And they're in prison.
They're in prison. That's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened. But I'm glad I did it, and it was a nice challenge as well. It was a really fun challenge. I need like 6 naps now.
Yeah, you deserve all the naps.
But I'm proud of myself. I'm so thankful. Thank you for coming on this journey, and thank you for not going, not Bonnie and Clyde.
No, absolutely. I was so happy to learn about this, and I couldn't think of a better person to teach me about this. So thank you, ma'am.
Well, thank you guys. So next week, because this episode's coming out on a Monday. Next week we've got the amazing Cryptids and Folklore episode by Alana. I'm so excited. I'm so excited too. That one's gonna be a doozy. Oh, I'm so excited. You've been teasing me with this one, like I've been teasing you with this one. So I'm super excited to see what you come up with, because I love cryptids and I don't know nothing. And you're gonna take me into the world of cryptozoology, and I'm very excited. Yeah, it is gonna be really good. And the next episode particularly is one that is gonna be very close to my heart with the topics that I'm choosing. So I am more than excited to share this with everybody. It is. I truly feel like I'm gonna be sharing a little part of like my soul, like my like childhood a little bit. Like it's a lot of me that I'm putting into this next one. So I'm very excited. I'm so excited. I thank you for laying yourself bare. Of course. And this here spookery. All for the spookery. All for the spookery. Well, thank you so much. It's truly, if you guys made it this far, like 6 hours in, you fucking made it. You fucking made champions. It. You're the champion, Barrows, now. Yeah. Oh my God. So, in the meantime, you can follow us on our socials. We're on Instagram and Twitter at SpookeryPodcast. You can send us an email at SpookeryPodcast@gmail.com. If you have your own spooky stories, you have your contributions to Bonnie and Clyde, you can yell at me, but please do it nicely. Yes. I'm very tired. And we will cry. We will cry if we get a sad email. Cry. So just make it as nice as you can. Yeah, but don't feel free to send us your own stories, because we very well might read them right here on the Spookery. We love talking about stories. Maybe we'll, much like Alana's putting a lot of herself ahead, maybe we'll share our own spooky stories, because I've got a couple of spooky stories that I'm holding on to. I would love that. So, yeah, let us know what you think. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave us a 5-star review if you enjoyed this 3-part series, and if you didn't, please leave us a 5-star review to let me know that you didn't like it. It works both ways. I'll know the intent behind that 5-star review. Exactly. It'll be signed with the right intent. Yes, I can feel the intent manifested in the universe. Oh my God. All right. Alrighty, full folks. We are loopy and ready to go. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Until next time. Stay spooky. Bye-bye. Oh man. Spookery Wheel. Spookery Wheel, why have you done this to me? Spookery Wheel. I manifested the spooky spirits. Mass murder.